Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, yes, indeed, the elections are upon us and preparations are on the way. Well, we'll start off talking about election matters this morning. We're joined by Bishop Samson Benjamin, who's also an architect. He's a UN Peace Ambassador. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year.
Well, yes, indeed. Thank you, too. Of course, lately, there's been several comments in terms of, first of all, from the clergy perspective. You heard that comment, which was making the rounds only recently about a Reverend-Father. And then led a lot of people asking, okay, they're not exactly sure what role clergymen do play or can play in an election. Did you also saw that? What do you think?
I'm sure you must be referring to the statement made by Reverend-Father Mbaka. And I consider that. I don't know him so very much. We're not that close. But that was his opinion. And as a Nigerian, you are entitled to your opinion. It's not the exact opinion of the entire Catholic Church or Christians and all that. What bothers some of us is the fact that a month ago plus, he was singing the praises of this same family, and a month after, you're singing another song. And it bothers us as clergies, because as clerics, all that is expected from us is to help tell our followers the right thing to do. Whether you like it or not, the truth is, in every society or nation, there is a constitution. And this constitution is the highest law in the land. But we don't forget the fact that as clerics, we have followers who believe in the tenets of our faith and in our holy books. And so clerics are supposed to be very, very careful about the kind of statement they make, especially when it concerns the entire society and politics, especially in Nigeria. This year, where we're looking up to elections coming forth in the next few weeks and all that, we should be very careful of incisive statements that could cause violence or some sort of disrupt peaceful coexistence and all that. So whatever the Reverend Father said, to me, is actually his opinion and not the generality of the Christian community.
Do you think that there's confusion about the role that clergymen play in the country, especially when it has to do with elections?
Sometimes you cannot rule it out completely that clergymen, what they say, could either be positive or negative and could have certain effects on the lives of the public, okay? Especially when you begin to look at certain things and looking at the antecedent of such people who speaks. For instance, we just spoke about what the Reverend Father said. You would remember very well that some time ago, he made similar statement about Chimaroke, okay? And that Chimaroke was not going to win the election. But it didn't come to pass. Chimaroke did not only win the election, but also the person he anointed won the election. So I think what we are supposed to do at clerics is to be very careful on our utterances, because our followers, definitely, if you don't have 100% followership, then you have some percentage that will follow you. And sometimes they go do the wrong thing because of what you have told them to do.
What if God speaks to or gives them a message to tell the people? They have to tell it, don't they?
Yeah, this is where you really need to understand the fact. We need to go to the basics when you're talking about clerics, okay? You have to look at the fact that we are all generalized as cleric or clergies, but at the same time, like in the Christendom, You have what we call the five manifold ministries. These are major ministries, okay? And these are made up of like the apostle, the prophet, the evangelist, the pastor, and the teacher. Now, all these manifold ministries have their paraphernalia of office. Like the apostle is not the same with the prophet. The prophet is not the same with the evangelist. The evangelist is not the same with the pastor and also the teacher. Now, it is good to know exactly what office a particular clergy in the Christian fold actually occupies. It is when you have these fundamental basics that you'll be able to say, okay, this man heard from God or he did not hear from God. All of us do hear from God, that's the truth. But amongst these manifold ministries, the prophet is closer to God. I will just quote from the Holy Scriptures. It said, God will do nothing, but he will reveal his secrets unto his servants. The prophet, he was very specific about that. And that's why some of us are very concerned that our colleagues should be extremely careful when they come up to tell people that God said to me. God doesn't lie. If he says it's A, it's A. If he says it's B, it's B. So if you say God speaks to you, that means it has to come to pass. If it does not come to pass, it means it is not God who spoke to you. There is a parameter of measuring this, for instance. Okay, like the scripture would say to us, that for you to know a prophet is when he speaks and it comes to pass. So when you now speak and it does not come to pass, that is the first litmus test for every lay person, any other person who is not deeply involved in these activities. That's the first litmus test. If God says this will happen through me, and I come out openly and declare it to everybody that this is what God said, and it didn't come to pass, for you who is not a clergy, the first thing you should do is know that God has not spoken. Because if he did really speak to anybody, it will come to pass.
Well, some people also ask, why is it that, politicians think that churches are also the best places to go? Do you think that, is it that they're looking for endorsement, or do they think that, by some stint, the man of God will be able to invoke the blessings of God upon them? Why do you think generally that the trend now is also to visit churches, mosques, and what have you?
Okay, you see, let's be very honest about this. You have a lot of games, like you have the chess game, the football game, the soccer game, and all that. Politics is also a game. And politics is a game of numbers. Okay? It is the majority that wins. And because you're talking about numbers, you will want to go to places where you can have more population than any other thing. Let's take Lagos as a case study, okay? There's hardly any streets you pass in Lagos and you will not find a church. And every headquarters, or all the headquarters of big and mighty churches like ours, by God's grace, is situated in Lagos. And if you are a politician, and you know that what will put you in the first position is numbers, then you start, drawing your map and calculating, where do I get these numbers from? You go to probably between Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, and you see a whole lot massive lands where people come together and pray maybe once in a month or have a convention and all that, and you just see this crowd all over. The first thing that comes to your mind as a politician is, wow, these are potential voters. and you want to get in there and try to make an in-way and get the people to vote for you. But let me be very honest and sincere that the 2015 election is really going to be different from all other elections because religion is going to play about 60% role in what is going to happen in 2015.
Is that a good sign for you?
Sorry?
Is that a good sign?
That's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be that way because, you see, the politicians have been able to drag in religion into their politics. And by this, they've hit up the politics of the country and made people even absolutely confused. Let me put that word. It's not supposed to be that way, but now, because religion is going to play a whole lot of role in 2015, we have to be extremely, extremely careful. For instance, I want to give you an instance. In 2011, a presidential aspirant or candidate actually said, okay, if you're a Muslim, do not vote for a non-Muslim. Okay? And today, you see such politician probably entering into the church. And why is he in the church? The reason is because he's looking for votes. But has he forgotten that he said something like that some time ago? And so we go ahead and
you have a proof to that.
Sorry?
Do you have a proof to that? That's comment.
Of course, it's all over the papers.
Not everything in the papers, because we've seen so many stories in the papers, and we have just realized that most of those things we have read in the papers are not true after all.
No, I agree with you 100% because sometimes I listen to security consultants and even security personnel sit down and talk about, for instance, the popular Chibok issue and all that, until I made Chibok a place for me to visit all the time, to see things for myself. So I realized that some things on the papers are not true. So you are very correct to what you say. But what I am telling you right now is not an assumption or is not something I cooked up. It's something that actually happened.
How important is security, or how important should security be in this election in terms of an issue?
Wow, but you know security is the most important thing right now as far as the election is concerned. As the election draws closer, we expect to see security agencies working in synergy in such a way that they don't have to wait until the election proper comes. They should have been so prepared before now and just doing some certain finishing touches, because security is very, very important. Why? You will agree with me that politicians, they go a whole lot overboard in order to win elections. And sometimes they use the factor of intimidation, factor of terror, and factor of violence. And this is where we come in and try and tell our people, see, no matter what anybody says to you, don't go out there and create some sort of violence. Don't go out there and use some sort of sharp object or the barrel of the gun to scare people. Allow people to vote with their conscience.
You know,
and all that.
Speaking about which...